My name is Dube. I am the Sustainability Manager for the Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Northern New England. We are not part of the Coke Company. We are a franchise, just like a McDonald's franchise or a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. We're a Coke franchise up here in the Northeast. We are focused, our territory is all up here in the Northeast and stuff. And for the company, I handle pretty much everything that has to do with recycling, a lot of environmental issues, and then a lot of politics, which is not fun, but that's another part of the day. But this presentation that you're about to see, this is what I go around and do on a regular basis. Last year I spent over 100 days teaching, okay, most of that in schools. And basically we started out talking about what we do for recycling, and then it kind of grew into this much bigger discussion when people really were fascinated by who our partners were that we recycle with and where our material ends up, the companies that are involved in here. And the neat thing about it, being a local franchise up here in the Northeast, not being part of the Coca-Cola Company, we control where our recycling goes. So I'm the one who goes out there and cuts the contracts with the companies that buy our material. So actually I can follow our material through the systems and see where it ends up. And thankfully, living here in the Northeast, we have a lot of manufacturing that's actually based on this recycled material. And this recycled material is very valuable to a lot of these companies. So it's a big part of our industrial base, which means a big part of our manufacturing base, which means there's a lot of jobs involved in it and stuff. So what we're going to start out with today, we have a video that we did. We've had it out for about a year. It starts out in our bottling plant in Londonderry, New Hampshire. All of our, about 80% of everything we sell is bottled right in Londonderry, New Hampshire. So it's very local. There are only a few items that we buy, things like Minute Maid orange juice, which require pasteurization, which we don't do, but things like that. Anything other than that, we do it ourselves right here locally. That's a big issue because that saves on a lot of expense on trucking. Okay, trucking is very, very expensive. It also has a big carbon footprint when you start talking about diesel fuel, things like that and stuff. So trying to keep things local is always the better way. We took that model from being a local bottler and distributor to our recycling fleet. So a lot of our recycling is all done locally and stuff. And like I said, thankfully we have a lot of those companies available to us. All right, so I'm going to go through the video and I'm going to stop it. I'll explain some things as we go through there, a little bit more than what the video talks about. And then once we're done at the end, I'll leave it open for questions. So if you have questions, just kind of hold off until the end, okay?
What surprised me most in digging into our sustainability practices is all of the other businesses and employees whom we impact in the Northern New England market.
I've always said, it's our waste, let's keep it here. Let's create the jobs here, let's create and stimulate the local economy.
We're entrenched in the communities, we're involved very actively in the communities that we're fortunate to live in and do business in. We were sustainable before people even realized what sustainability was. It was just the culture of the company for us, Coke Northern New England, that started back in the 70s.
What we have to focus on as a community, as a country, is recycling efforts.
I love what I do. I know we have a positive impact on our local environment and our countryside as a whole. So it's a beautiful thing and I'm glad to be a part of it.
The innovation started with what can we do with a plastic bottle? We turned that plastic bottle into the jacket that I'm wearing now.
What Coca-Cola is doing is unlike a lot of companies out there. In fact, they're a leader in recycling, and they really care.
For sustainability, it really starts with highlighting that at the top of our organizations, whether it be at our production facility or at our various sales centers, and really highlighting things that are important to us as a company, whether it's recycling initiatives, reduction in miles driven. Everybody feels comfortable understanding that sustainability is really the core.
That award you're seeing right there, right? There's a company up in Portland, Maine called IDEX Laboratories. Very, very, very green company. Very environmentally friendly, very environmentally conscious about what they do. Every year they hold an event that they bring in all their outside vendors, and since we supply them with beverages, we would be an outside vendor. They invite all their outside vendors to come in, and they have an entire day of you go out and you present and you talk to the employees and all that. This is a company of 1,000 people, okay? So on that day, at the end of that day, their employees vote for who has the best sustainable presentation or the best sustainable program and stuff. The first year I was there in 2012, we won first place, which was really big for us. That's the first time I've ever won an award for this program, which was really cool. Last year, 2013, when we went back for this event, we won it again. No one has ever won that award twice, let alone twice in a row. I was just at this event a month ago. I won it for a third year. Okay, that's pretty amazing. Very proud of that. That's a lot of hard work from a lot of our people that helped with this program and stuff. But that's the type of thing. And there were some companies there dealing with compost, dealing with energy efficiency, solar, van cooling, all kinds of things like that. Had really, really great stories. And we just barely won this year. But you did win the third.
Back late in 2011, we got the approval to purchase a blow mower, and in doing so, we've saved about 1,500 truckloads a year of full bottles being brought into the plant. That ratio is about 10 truckloads of bottles to 1 truckload of preforms. And one of the things.
Okay, what he was just talking about there, that machine you saw in the background. Okay, anybody want to take a guess what this is? For those of you that said Coke bottle, you're absolutely right. This is this. This is how we truck it around. These are made in Virginia. Can you imagine loading a tractor trailer from Virginia all the way to Londonderry, New Hampshire with these or with these? Which one do you think is more efficient? Exactly, this one. 1 truckload of these turns into 10 trucks like this. We just took 9 tractor trailers off the road. Okay, that's diesel fuel, that's pollution, that's traffic and all of that. We just did that by doing this. The machine that was right behind Russ, that machine turns 960 of these per minute into this. And then when it comes out of there like this, it goes into a thing, goes into the mold, it gets heated up, just a puff of air, turns it into the bottle, and then it comes out of there like this, and it goes right to our fill line, label, cap, all in one process, all in one building. So that was a huge savings for us in fuel efficiencies, just by that one little change.
We're really proud of here at Londonderry is our ability to reduce solid waste. We're able to recycle about 92% of everything that comes into this plant. What comes into this plant is about 6,000 truckloads a year of packaging material, concentrate, and other goods, and only 9 dumpsters leave in a year. So,
just another little quick thing. Everything that we use to make our products, right, last year, 6,000 tractor trailers of material went into our building. Okay, that's boxes, labels, machine parts, office paper, you name it. That's all the supplies that come into our building. That building produced over 25 million cases last year. Okay, so it's a lot of cases. At the end of the day, we have 1 small 8-yard dumpster for that entire building. That dumpster was only emptied 9 times last year. Most schools generate that in about 2 months, 2.5 months. Okay? The reason we can cut our trash down that low is because everything we use is extremely recyclable. When you go into a gas station or a pizza place or something like that, and you buy a bottle, and the next one slides down, these glides that we use, when these are broken and damaged, we take them out. We have a company in Portsmouth, New Hampshire that buys these from us when they're no good for us anymore. They take them, they shred them up, they sell that shred to American Plastics right in New Hampshire, who melts it down, turns it into something new, and it goes right back out there. Shrink wrap. You all know what saran wrap is at home, right? Okay, this is shrink wrap. This is what we wrap around our pallets so the stuff doesn't fall over on the trucks. When our drivers deliver, they'll cut this off and they bring it back, right? We bale this up and we sell it to Trex decking. The composite decking material you use to build the deck on your house, right? That's what we sell it to, okay? Big, huge shortage of this. If we had 1 billion pounds of this tomorrow, Trex would come get every bit of this to turn into this, all right? When you're at home, right, can you help that company get more recycled material? Do you have shrink wrap at home? Do you have saran wrap at home? Do you have Ziploc bags? Do you have the little sandwich bags like this one right here that I just used for my sandwich today? Okay? How about the bag that's in your box of cereal? Frozen vegetable bags, your bread bag, your English muffin bag, your dry cleaning bags, the bags from your wood pellet stove, the bags from the bark mulch you put out in the spring. Any kind of bag material like that, when you get a box from Amazon that's got all that fun bubble wrap in there, well, once you're done playing with it, scaring the dog, right? Take all that bubble wrap and all those other things, put them back in your grocery bag you take back to the grocery store. Okay, put it in there, take it back to the grocery store. Guess what they do with it? They sell it to Trex Decking. Okay? That's how you would recycle that. You cannot recycle that stuff when you curbside recycle. Or at most transfer stations. The place to recycle that is right into your grocery bag, right back to the grocery store. So any bag material you have like that, that's how you would do it.
Do all grocery stores do that?
Huh?
Do all grocery stores do that?
Almost, yeah, all grocery stores you do, but even your Walmarts and Targets and all of those are into that as well. So it's not hard to find a place to recycle it. Okay? Things like cardboard, we recycle, we sell it all our cardboard goes to Parker Brothers. Anybody know what Parker Brothers makes? Monopoly boards, game boxes, that type of thing, right in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. So it goes there, turns into games, comes right back out to us. Even something as simple as this is strapping, right? This is like you buy a random box of paper, there's one strip of this around it. Or you buy a flat screen TV, there's usually 2 strips of this around the box. In our bottling plant, we have a lot of this stuff that comes in with the freight, okay? So we cut it off. A lot of people would say, well, you just throw that in the trash, right? Why wouldn't you? It's plastic, right? The company that buys these in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, right, also buys this. They take this, they shred it, and how that's done is they just chop it up in small pieces, and then they sell it to a company in Hampton, Hampshire, called Foss Manufacturing. And what Foss does with that shredded plastic is they melt it. They pipe it to the top of the building, and then they melt it. And it literally just drips out of the furnace. Okay? They take those drips and they stretch it till it's really, really thin, and then they crimp it, which makes it fuzzy. So now it's just like wool or cotton. So you take that material, you spin it into thread, you weave it into fabric, right in Hampton, Hampshire. They weave it right into the fabric, right there. And then that fabric goes 12 miles down the road to Lawrence, Massachusetts, to New Balance. And that's what this fabric is made of. So it leaves our building in Londonderry, New Hampshire, like this, and ends up in Lawrence, Massachusetts, like this, 60 miles down the road. Can you get more local manufacturing than that? Okay, that's what we need to do. That's what makes our program so successful. Okay?
Yeah, that's a pretty good ratio, and we're hoping to improve that as the years go on.
We purchase on an annual basis about 4 to 450 vending machines and about 1,300 coolers each year. And when we are ordering that amount of equipment, we want to make sure that we are getting the most efficient, the most valuable piece of equipment that we have that we can give to our customers.
We have been able to reduce our mileage by 700,000 miles in the last few years.
The sustainability here at the Londonderry facility is really about energy saving, water, and waste reduction. It's really a focus with all of our people on a major recycling effort. We've done that over the last 6 to 10 years, been able to reduce our solid waste by 80% during that time frame, recycling everything from PET bottles to aluminum to the strapping and stretch film, all the materials that come into the plant, we find avenues to recycle them.
We recycle because of a lot of reasons. We have 6 billion pounds of PET bottles that we processed last year and we sold out to the marketplace. 4+ million pounds of aluminum cans, all our cardboard, all our shrink wrap. We've been recycling these 30+ years. Everything that I'm putting back out there into the marketplace is so tied to our local economy up here in the Northeast.
Foss Manufacturing was founded in 1952 right here in New England. We've been a New England company for over 50 years now. We're located currently in Hampton, New Hampshire, where we've been since the early 70s. We employ approximately 500 employees, and we manufacture over 1 million square yards of fabrics per week that leave this facility and go to a variety of different customers and marketplaces. One great example is a shoe that we're making now for New Balance. We're actually taking a needle punch non-woven fabric that's made out of recycled bottles. We're coloring it, needle punching it, and creating a fabric out of it, and it's making the whole upper of the shoe. and it's called New Sky by New Balance, and we're very proud that we're the fabric that's making the upper of that. One of our issues today is finding enough bottle resin to keep our plants running at the levels we want and with the products that we're making. We currently buy a lot of recycled bottles from companies that are right here in New England themselves. Poly Recovery, that is just about 10 miles north of here, is one of our main sources for some of the recycled bottles that we acquire. A lot of those bottles come from Coca-Cola.
Quick question, because when we did the video, we were talking about what we're recycling, and a lot of what we recycle is bottles, but there's a lot of other things out there. Of these 4 items, which is most valuable when you recycle? 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll give you a 5, all of the above. Which one is most important? 5, all of the above. They're all the same exact material. Okay? So recycling your water bottle, your soda bottle, is just as important as recycling these. Okay? Another question for you. This is one I get all the time. Obviously, you can see the peanut butter that's in here, correct? How much water and energy should you use to get that peanut butter out of it? Very smart individual right there. 0. Okay? What do you think is harder to get out of this container? The peanut butter that's inside or the label off? What do you think is harder? Exactly. By the time they get the label and the glue that holds the label off of this plastic, the peanut butter is long gone. Don't waste the water or energy. I run into people all the time that will put this in their dishwasher. Please don't ever do that. Okay? Leave it there. The technology today will take care of it. Okay? This next group, Poly Recovery, just really quick. They were a little 4-man outfit when we found them. We actually tested them with a couple of trailer loads of our material. They were so great at what they did, and they were so simple to work with, we kicked our national company out and went to these guys. And now they're much bigger than 14.
The largest misconception about plastic is that it's ending up in a landfill, which is just not true. Plastic, especially PET, is one of the easiest things to recycle. We have the ability to process it all day long. The relationship that we've developed with the likes of Coca-Cola and here at Poly Recovery and then down the road at Foss Manufacturing, we're creating a process where we are recycling it right here in everybody's backyard.
It's not just sustainable in environmental, it's sustainable economically. Because you're creating more jobs and you're keeping these local cluster groups and essentially building your community. No one does it better than Coca-Cola.
Polartec was the inventor of fleece. In 1981, we worked with Patagonia to really invent modern synthetic fleece. Since then, we've been working on all kinds of fabric innovations, from waterproof breathable fabrics to additional high-loft fleeces, recycled fleece. 50% of what we make on a daily basis out of our Lawrence, Massachusetts facility is made from PET plastic. We buy millions of pounds of yarn from Unify Reprieve. We turn that yarn into fabric and sell it to the best brands around the globe.
How many of you own a North Face jacket? How many of you realize that the fleece that was in that jacket was made from things like this? Not a lot of you, okay? That's where this stuff goes. There's a huge, huge demand for this material, especially right now in the Northeast. There's a massive shortage of this, okay, when you process this. When this gets processed for recycling, right, what they do is they take the bottles or the containers or the tomato containers or the clamshells or whatever, and they actually first they separate the colors, okay? And it's all done by machines. Once they separate the colors, then they chop it up. All right? Now in here is caps, labels, and all the garbage that was in the bottles. Candy wrappers, gum, cigarette butts, you name it. You'd be shocked at what goes into these things. In the cleaning process, all that gets cleaned out. Now, the caps that are in here, right, that's because in most places, and unfortunately you can't do it in this part of Vermont because Chittenden County Solid Waste Facility is not equipped to handle caps. So in this area, you have to take your caps off. But for most places in the Northeast, and actually this is the only one that I know of, for most places in the Northeast, you would leave the caps on the bottle. And it doesn't matter if it's this or this. still the same cap, you leave it on. Because what happens when they chop that up and wash it, because the caps are a different plastic than the bottle, they float at a different temperature. So when they wash that at one temperature, all the caps will float to the top. They skim these off, and these would end up at Crown Cork and Seal in Massachusetts to make new caps. So that's how they would come back into the system. Okay? But once you wash everything out of there, and you've got just the clean flake, right? That's what companies like Polartec buy to make your North Face jacket. This right here. And it's done the same way as what I showed you earlier. They take this, they melt it, stretch it, crimp it, turn it into thread like this, and that's what you saw on that machine at Polartec. This spool actually comes right off one of those machines and stuff. Something else though that goes on that's a little closer to home for you guys. Anybody know what this is?
Teddy bear.
Absolutely, Vermont teddy bear. You know what all the stuffing inside is made out of?
Plastic.
Absolutely. You know why? It's done for a very specific reason. Yeah? The plastic that we use to make our bottles and anything with a 1 on it, it's hypoallergenic, which is like germs don't like it, and that's why they use it for this. So that the germs won't like the bear and stuff. But it's done for a very specific reason. If there was any cotton in there, if this got wet and you threw in the washing machine and washed it, things like that, you'd have a real germ problem on your hands.
We're the largest independent post-consumer PET processor in North America. We specialize in PET, that's all we do. What we're looking for is more containers at all time, and we do about 2 billion containers a year. That's about 80 million pounds. Well, I think the life cycle of a plastic bottle is very unique. Let's start out with a Northern New England Coke bottle. Coke will basically get the bottle from one of their converters, they'll fill it, they'll sell the product. The consumer will take that product, consume it, and then return that bottle, and then it winds up in the waste stream. And then we will basically buy that bottle. And that bottle comes back in here in typically say a baled form. And now we're going to take that bottle and we're going to break it down and we're going to try to recover the individual PET resin that it started with. That resin will be basically converted back into a wash flake or a milk filtered pellet, and we're going to sell back to companies. A company like Foss is going to use it to make, say, fine denier fibers, or it's going to go to a company that's going to injection mold it back in the free form, make a bottle, it'll go back to Coca-Cola, and we'll start the process all over again.
Today, polyester water bottles can be 100% recycled and used into products that the consumer is buying every single day. And what the people of this nation need to understand is that there's not enough of it for the demand that we have for polyester fiber. We need more recycling efforts, we need more recycled bottles for a lot of the applications that we make here at Fall.
You've recycled all your plastic tomato containers, your bottles, you've turned them into things like North Face jackets or Patagonia or LLB, right? And now you've been wearing that jacket for 10 years, you've been skiing, snowboarding, doing all this wild stuff with it. The elbows are all torn, the zipper's busted, the pockets are ripped. What do you do with that jacket? Okay, how would you recycle it? No. Anybody ever hear of Planet Aid? Those yellow containers that are in parking lots of gas stations and Walmarts and that kind of thing, right? Planet Aid is the big buyer in the Northeast, but there's several other companies that are involved in that. Do you guys have Goodwill around?
Yeah.
Salvation Army clothes drives? Okay? Any of those places, when you're dropping off clothing to them, they don't only want your good stuff. They don't care if your t-shirt is stained and torn. They don't care if your North Face jacket is ripped and the zipper's blown off and all of that. Because what they do is what they cannot retail in their store, they bale it up and they sell it to Planet Aid. Planet Aid then takes that material and separates it. Cotton and polyester. Okay, those are the two main sources of clothing. They separate, and then they sell that back to the cotton industry and the polyester industry. In that industry, once they get that, they will shred it up. So then they'll remove the zippers and the snaps and the buttons and all that, and then you're left with cotton. So the strip, the rips, and the stains don't care. Okay? Polyester, same thing. They shred it up, they remove the zippers, the snaps, the buttons, and then it's right back to polyester. You can process it right back through the system and make it into another fleece for a new North Face, or the cotton back into a new pair of jeans. Okay? They don't care if you have one sock, one glove, it doesn't matter. For what they can't sell in their store, after that, they're only concerned about cotton and polyester. They don't care what it looks like. The only thing you cannot put in there is anything that was greasy. So if a family member or friend is a mechanic and comes home, that's what doesn't go in there. Okay, but anything else, stains and tears, they don't care. And that's what you see down here in front of my table. And it just shows you the carbon footprint and the energy and all of that that's saved by recycling our clothing.
Don't get it. I think they get the wrong impression on plastic bottles that there might be an issue or it's evil because it doesn't biodegrade, but there's a huge market. There's not a bottle that can be collected that you can't recycle it back into usable form.
For me to be able to provide that to them instead of throwing it into a landfill is just, it's great. It makes me feel good about what I do.
We go out of our way to recycle like crazy, not just the beverage containers that we sell and deliver, but also all of the ancillary materials involved in the manufacturing in our business. We think plastic is a pretty great material. Look at the amazing things that can be done with it. What we'd like to see, and we advocate and we will support, is increased recycling at the local level so that more plastic bottles, more aluminum cans can be recovered and put to great use.
Casella has been recycling for over 40 years. With the evolution of technology and efforts, it's allowed the customers to recycle more, to make it easier. It's just the right thing to do. Using Zero Sort, it's a very direct movement. It goes from the collection site, whether it be the home or business, right to the processing facility.
When you go into one of these facilities, and a lot of facilities will do tours, so if you can ever get in there, it's pretty fascinating to see these things. But when your recycling gets in there, right, the truck backs in and just dumps it all on the floor. And usually it's like a front end loader or a bobcat that pushes it onto a belt. And when it gets on the belt, usually one of the first things that comes out is the glass. Okay? The reason why the glass comes out first is because glass is the recycling world's nightmare. Okay? For us, it's the only commodity we can't sell. Nobody wants it. Okay? It's very, very heavy to haul around. It takes a lot of diesel fuel to haul it around. Okay? So it's got a huge carbon footprint. But the other part of it when you recycle it is it breaks and it contaminates everybody else's product. So the broken glass that's in your recycling bin from the pickle jar or whatever you put in there, the wine bottle or whatever, right? That's contaminating the paper, the cardboard, all the plastics, even the metals. So your tin cans, if they have too much glass content, when they melt it all down, you can actually ruin that entire batch of tin because there's too much glass in it. Same thing with the aluminum. So the recycling world really has an issue with glass. And one of the new trends that's starting on the West Coast is glass is being kicked out of the recycling because of all those problems. And weight of it, and then the contamination problems and stuff. And if you go through the grocery store, you see less and less glass every year. It's too heavy to haul around. That's why we get out of it all the time. It's just too expensive. But when that stuff gets in there, the glass comes out first, then the big cardboard will come off because it hides everything underneath. But then from there, it goes past blowers that'll blow the paper off. And then it goes past magnets that'll take all the tin cans out. And then an eddy current, which will take the aluminum out. And then from there, you end up with like just the plastics. And then it'll go through optical sorters that can actually tell a milk jug from a soda bottle. And it'll separate those because they're two different types of plastic and stuff. It's almost all done with no hands involved, okay? And when you deal with the recycling world, especially for bottles, we're constantly dodging things like dipper spit, hypodermic needles are a huge problem today in this recycling stuff. Things like that, so you want to keep your hands out of there as much as possible, okay? This equipment is all done to sort all that out without anybody getting their hands involved.
It removes a lot of handling in between. The capture rates go up, and we have the ease of processing with modern technology.
Zero Sort's important because it collects more material. The other great thing about Zero Sort is it makes it easier for the people to recycle more material.
Sustainability to me is just doing things right as far as what we do with our material before, how we process, what we do with what's left over at the end of the day.
This company gives me great support in sustainability methods and continuing that effort going forward.
Sustainability, it's our customers demand it. It's the right thing to do. Our people want it, and it's just the right way to conduct business.
Good, solid sustainability practices are an expectation from both our customers and our consumers. They're expecting the folks that they purchase products from to have good sustainability programs. We know it's important to encourage all of our associates around the importance of sustainability and encourage them to really live that only here at work, but hopefully it translates into their lives as well. What's important to me is we continue to engage in the conversation with our customers and consumers.
I love what I do. When we can physically go out and touch where our material goes, for us to be able to help them grow the way they've been growing, it's just one of those things that really makes me feel good about what we do on a day-to-day basis.
So that gives you an idea of some of the stuff that happens that's associated with us and our material, and how easy it is once we thought about the whole thing to put this together, because we had such great partners out there with us. But one other thing that I like to talk about that has absolutely nothing to do with us, okay? You guys are all familiar with milk jugs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at the recycling symbol on a milk jug, there's a 2 in there, okay? That stands for what type of plastic it is. If you grab a laundry soap jug or a shampoo bottle or a cleaning bottle like this, that also has a 2 in it as well, okay? Milk jugs are very valuable. They'll always go back into new milk jugs over and over and over again, okay? They have that for a long time. But even though this is the same exact material, right, for the longest time, this was garbage. Nobody wanted this. Nobody wanted your laundry soap jugs and your shampoo bottles and your cleaning bottles. Anybody want to take a guess why that was valuable, but this wasn't?
You couldn't clean the soaps and other things out of it well enough, and it would contaminate the milk the next time around?
What do we talk about cleaning things out of there? Don't waste the water. The only thing that gets cleaned in my house is dairy, like a milk jug in the summertime, because it'll smell really quick, okay? Her answer was the chemicals that are in there, right? The chemicals would cause a problem. Don't you wash these down your drain every day? When you're rinsing it out, aren't you washing it down your drain? Right? The chemicals is just a wash process. When they chop this bottle up into small pieces, they're just going to wash all that out of there. Okay? So the chemicals weren't the problem. The problem with this is your bright orange Tide bottle, your fluorescent green shampoo bottle, your reds and purples and yellows and greens, right? When you chop that up and you melt that down, what color do you get?
Brown.
Number 1 answer in schools is, well, mud is close. The number 1 answer in schools is yuck. Okay, somebody want to tell me who's going to sell yuck? I mean, I've sold for a lot of years. I have no idea how to sell yuck. I have no idea who's going to buy yuck. I can guarantee you Tide is not going to buy yuck. All right? How do you know? You never know. Every day it's going to be a different color because you don't know what color the bottles were going in. So the issue was you had a great plastic with great properties, but you had a color problem. So what do? Well, for a long time, they used to take this and burn it to make electricity. Okay? But then some guys down in New Jersey came up with a better idea. They created this. This is made from laundry soap jugs and shampoo bottles. Okay? This is what I call Big Kids Legos. All right? If you're thinking it's decking like I talked about earlier, it's not. Totally different product. Okay? These guys in New Jersey created this, and then they came up here to York, Maine, and built an entire bridge out of it. Every single piece of this bridge is made out of laundry soap jugs and shampoo bottles. What do you think this bridge is going to look like in 100 years from now? Same thing. This is York, Maine. It freezes in the winter, it gets hot in the summertime, you're dealing with salt water. The bridge doesn't care. You know why the town of York went with this bridge? It was the same price as a steel bridge, but this has a big advantage. It has zero maintenance budget. You're never going to scrape this because you're never going to paint it because it's never going to rot. Okay? Now that bridge right there has a steamroller on it. That's pretty heavy, right? But it's not as heavy as that 60-ton M1 Abrams tank on a plastic bridge at Fort Bragg. Okay? Now, I don't know how much stick time you guys have behind the wheel of a tank. I have some. You can tear stuff up with a tank, but that bridge can handle it. The strongest bridges in this country we build are for what? Think bigger and heavier than tanks. Every piece of that railroad trestle is made out of laundry soap jugs and shampoo bottles. This company in New Jersey built their first factory in New Jersey, their second one in Texas. They started building their third factory and shut it down. They didn't even finish building it. Guess why they didn't finish building their third factory? Not enough product. Second most abundant plastic we bury in our landfills. What are we doing? Is that a smart thing? No. These are local jobs. These are really good manufacturing jobs. All right? Isn't that what we need? So simple things like your recycling turns into a lot of local economy and stuff, and that's a big part of our program. And that's why we've worked so hard to keep our material local. All the bottles that we recycle end up at the system that creates North Face. All the fleece for North Face worldwide is all made in Hudson, Hampshire and Lawrence, Massachusetts. All the fabric from Patagonia worldwide is made in Hudson, Hampshire and Lawrence, Massachusetts. Okay? Huge part of our economy up here. Yes, sir.
There was one major attribute of that bridge built then.
The original bridge was blown out in Hurricane Irene. It was washed down the river. If this one ever gets washed out in the hurricane, don't worry about it. It floats. Go find it, bring it back. Okay?